I'm Mark Ramsey. I am so pleased and proud and pumped, because you have to be pumped when you talk to this guy, to talk to the great David Siteman Garland, and never skip his middle name. I'll warn you now. It's David Siteman Garland. Isn't that right?
Big trouble otherwise, for sure.
David is the founder and creator of the RiseToTheTop.com, which is one of my favorite business-oriented blogs. It's interesting that the site now, since the old days, since the last time we talked, David, has been relabeled, and it is now the #1 badass show, resource, and community for mediapreneurs. That is a mouthful, but it's memorable.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes when you can't describe something, like when you know what it is, but you can't describe it, you need to make up your own language. And so that's what I did kind of with the Mediapreneurs, if you will.
Well, and that's what I want to get into you about. But before we do that, I just wanted to, so people who are not familiar with the Rise to the Top, what is it and how big is it?
Yeah, so just give kind of a scope. I mean, really what the Rise to the Top is we're an education company. We have a show and we have all these different things that we do. But we serve a very specific subset of people, and this kind of goes into exactly what we're talking about today. But we serve what's called mediapreneurs, and the way that I define mediapreneurs are kind of experts, authors, personal brands, people that create content online, offline, that are looking to leverage that online and build a business from it. That's really what this audience is all about. And so to do that, basically, I do a variety of different things to help them. I do a weekly, long-form interview show. I do a weekly short tips show. And then I've got a lot of different products and coaching and different things that help people kind of achieve that goal. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. And let's see, some of the key metrics, since I've started it, we've had over, in 2008, we've had over 7 million downloads of the content. Let's see, kind of the key number that's always out there is like, we get like 250,000 people coming a month. But it's a variety of different things, and that's kind of what it is in a nutshell.
Well, it strikes me that in many ways, tools are easy, right?
Yeah.
Because tools are ubiquitous. Platforms, as a result of tools, are easy. But content and monetization is hard. Why do we obsess so much on the tools when the hard work is really the content and the monetization?
Oh, it's such a great point. Yeah, it is. Exactly. And I think it's because, number one, it's fear, right? Like people are scared of, doing the actual monetization and the content. So what they end up doing is obsessing on the tools because it's very tangible. So it's like, I don't have to go worry about trying to make money because I'm trying to figure out where to place my microphone for the next 15 hours. So it's almost like this kind of like delay mechanism. And also a distraction, because what ends up happening is people are like, here's a tool, new tools coming out, and they never actually start making the money or building the business. And, I can't tell you how many times I hear from people, that are fans of my show or just in general, or come up and ask advice. And the biggest problem they have is really like, how am I going to make money, or how am I going to go about this? And, to me, that's just a critical sticking point for a lot of people that, I'm kind of out to destroy and help people with that.
It's like, and you made this point in a recent post about, the priority you place on social media versus, for example, the inbound opt-in list and the things you do because of that list. And it strikes me that, connection is so easy nowadays that it's almost valueless. Because you got to focus on what you do with that connection, right? How you make value out of that connection, not strictly make a connection.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people with, email lists and subscribers, whatever you want to call them, fans. A lot of people, whatever word we want to use there, with 1,000 fans or 500 fans or 750 fans or 2,000 fans that are making 6 and 7 figures. And I've seen people with 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 on up fans that are barely making anything, right? And that's scary, right? That's scary because the part that they've missed out on is positioning themselves and the brand to make money. And I think that we're moving into an era, like the big model that I love right now, and I think in the future especially, is kind of the expert model, right? Which is teaching people something. Like my first big hit in terms of a product that I was directly selling to people was teaching people how to do an interview-based web show called Create Awesome Interviews. That was my first hit. I took knowledge that I had built up over the years. I packaged it into a course for $495 that people could learn at their own pace. And that generated realize not a huge number of people that had to purchase it. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, there's not like you need 1,000 people to purchase. I mean, that'd be great if 1,000 people right off the bat purchased it, but we have several hundred people that purchased something for $495. And that ends up generating a lot of income, and now you have customers. So a big shift that I made in the business that really took us from sort of, I would say mediocre to decent to kind of like through the roof, if you will, was shifting from sort of a media brand, which is all about trying to just get sponsorships and advertisers and get the biggest possible audience, and shifted it towards what I would call like an educational or an expert brand, which I call Mediapreneur, which means that the real focus of our business is educating people and giving them tools and products to help them succeed. That's the thesis statement of the business, and the show and all the other content supports that.
Okay, you're hitting close to home now, because as you know, my world is that media world, that traditional media world of content being presented to people very often for free in exchange for advertising, sponsorships, etc. Can that world be comprised of mediapreneurs, and if so, how?
Well, yeah, but it has to shift. So here's what I mean. I do not. First of all, I do have sponsorships and advertisers still, on the rest of. So I'm not like going in and knocking that. However, I don't view that as a long-term business model for having success, because I hear too many people that when that's the model, that are crying poor, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean they're going to me, I can't get any. I'm not making any money. If you want to get into something that's not going to make any money, get into radio. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you hear that kind of negative thoughts, right? On the other hand, when you hear people that are selling, information, or it doesn't have to necessarily just be information. It could be coaching. It could be, it could be software, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. These are the people crying rich. Interesting. So how do we kind of mold these two things together, right? And this is where the confusion was. So when I started, and kind of I had that old media mindset, if you will, even in a new media world. So the idea was, okay, well now I can control my own show, do anything I want, but I'm going to go for volume. I'm going to go for 5 shows a week, and I'm going to try to get as big as possible and broad and bring in these sponsors and advertisers. Well, the problem is, in my opinion, the world is changing so quickly, and the attention spans are changing, and where people spend money and how they spend money is changing. And the way that I see the most successful people doing this, including myself, that went from a business that was doing okay to multiple 6 figures on pace for, $1 million at some point a year soon, the shift that I made was I said, okay, stop. Let's really think about this. And I changed the model so that now I publish, in my case, it's twice a week free content. Twice a week free content. One's a long video / audio, which is about 30 to 45 minute interview. The other one is a 5 to 6 minute tip video. Mm-hmm. Honestly, you could get away with one or the other too. So meaning if you just have a show and do it once a week, you're going to be more than good. When I stopped publishing 5 times a week, pulled it down, and then decided to make a real business out of it by creating products and creating things to sell to people directly, which was scary at first because I come from that world of we're not selling it directly. We're going to, get sponsors and stuff. I want to have control of my own customers. That was the key. Once I started selling to people, you are no longer kind of the middleman for everything. You control the customers. It's not like a sponsor wakes up on the wrong side of the bed, someone gets fired, they run out of money, and the next thing you know, you're taking this huge, massive hit. It's about leveraging it out, because someone came to me once and they said, David, let's say you could have $250,000. And they said, and you had a choice, and you could say, you could have one sponsor for $250,000, okay? Or you could have 250 customers, paying whatever that amount is. Was it $10,000? I don't know, whatever it is. But you could have 2,500 customers paying $1. 1,250 customers paying $2. Whatever it might be. Let's look at the math on that. The next thing I know, I'm thinking to myself, wow. Now, if a sponsor wakes up on the wrong side of the bed, my $250,000 is gone. But that's not going to happen with customers and clients unless you've created something really, really poor. Mm-hmm. So that was the shift that I made, and I think that in the sort of traditional route that's going online, if you're really struggling and you want to make it into a business, and you're like, I want to make money, if you want to be a hobbyist, that's great. Do whatever you want. That's awesome. I have no problem with hobbyists, and I encourage that. But if your goal is to generate revenue and really have long-term, income, and that freedom, if you will. I think that the shift becomes from the show being the business itself to the show supporting the business, and your business is something else, whether it's selling information, coaching. There's endless things I could list in this over here, as opposed to just sponsorships and advertising.
That's interesting. So really what you've done is you've pulled the focus away from generating ever more reach, right?
Yep.
Which was the easy commodity at the
volume, reach, that kind of thing.
And to more impact for the people you already reach. And it's kind of analogous in the radio space to almost a public radio model or a Christian non-commercial radio model where they're not beholden, but they're supported by listeners who actually pay cash money in exchange for the value they create on the air, right?
Right, exactly. And there's so many different ways to monetize. That's what's kind of exciting about it. I mean, there's so many different things. I can't tell you how many people I start meeting. They say, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Whether it's a membership or if there's so many, subscription, there's so many different ways you can go about it. It's just that people have kind of shifted. It used to be just volumes and volumes and volumes of content and, just going. And now, not only do I see the kind of better but less free content, better but less, but also more focused in terms of who this content is for. When I started the Rise to the Top, and this, it shifted down over time, like for less and less people, if that makes sense. So meaning when it started, it was just about entrepreneurship in general. So if you're an entrepreneur, tune on in, that's for you. But that includes everyone. That's like right. The attorney that's out on his own, the mom and pop shop, the venture capitalist guy, and the guy behind the computer are all entrepreneurs, right? So then I narrowed it down to online entrepreneurs because I realized that's really where our core audience was, right? But then that also has about 1 million pieces of the pie of online entrepreneurs. And then there was this new category that I sort of created that was blending exactly the type of person that I wanted to listen and consume the content, which is the mediapreneur. And a lot of times the mediapreneur is, working from home or wants to work from home and doesn't want to have a big team and isn't interested in raising money, and they are interested in selling their expertise or something really cool and like living this lifestyle. And once I got to that point, I pointed everything towards that, understanding that our audience isn't going to be 1 million people or anything like that, and that's not the goal. The goal is to have high-quality, awesome customers and people that come in and really enjoy the content. So that's kind of where that shift came.
So, last question to kind of bring this home for the radio audience. I mean, I think there's some distance perceived possibly between what you're describing and the business of radio as it is now.
Oh, for sure.
Granted, we got a lot of people in the media. We got a lot of people behind microphones, a lot of personalities, people who talk for a living, people who entertain for a living. All of these could potentially build out that platform and find other ways to drive revenue. That's really what you're describing, isn't it?
Yeah, and you could drive revenue. I don't want to say the word automated because that makes it sound far easier than I'm talking about. Like, it's simple but not necessarily easy, but everyone could do this, okay? Once you figure it out and commit to it, right? Because it's there's nothing better than waking up in the morning and having a sale from something that you didn't necessarily have to go do yourself. Does that make sense? Like, you set it up, and then, someone, for example, I wake up this morning, I see someone that bought Create Awesome Interviews for $495. I see someone bought my coaching program, and I see someone bought a tutorial for $75. All right, that's a great start to the day. Well, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I can pretty much go out and lay on the porch. Now, can you get to that point? Absolutely, you can get to that point. But here's the shift that I think is important, and I'll leave it kind of on this point, Mark, is that look at what people will actually buy from you. And you got to think about, I don't care if you're a radio host or entertainer, whatever you're doing, is there something that you can package up in a how-to format, that people are interested in? So let's say you're in comedy, okay? Is there a, improv course you could put together? I don't know what it is. How to do improv, or if you're, doing you're doing a health and fitness thing. Is there a how-to that you could put together, either maybe from your guests or from you or from whatever? Because on the internet, just put this in everyone's brain here, how-to, when it comes to information, is the #1 seller. And if you could get people an outcome with that how-to, that's something that I just want people to think about. So I'm not saying change your whole career. I'm not saying change all that. But I'm thinking maybe that there's a revenue stream here that's untapped for a lot of radio people. And you're already great at creating content. That's why you have a radio show or whatever you're doing. So now can we package some of that content up and sell it to people in a little bit of a different format and really make some money so that you get to wake up and, high five yourself in the morning.
And again, what David's describing here is getting money not just from the sponsors and from the advertisers that surround the content and bring it to you for free, but potentially getting money from the actual fans that love you and what you do because you're providing extra value that they're more than happy to pay for, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
David Siteman Garland is the fabulous host, creator, founder, etc. of the RiseToTheTop.com. I love this site. I love everything you do, David. And again, it's the number one I've got to look at my notes. The number one badass show, resource and community for mediapreneurs. I love the terminology, mediapreneurs. I hope it's trademark 2013, David Siteman Garland.
It is. It's coming back from the office here in a second. So actually, it is done skis.
David, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mark. I always appreciate it.